Yoga Fit and Fine at Your Places. I'm Priyanka Bish from Arden Progressive School. Today in this session, we'll be continuing with the topics of Chapter 1, which is Nature and Purpose of Business. As in the previous session, we have learned about some human activities, economic and non-economic activities. Also, we have discussed about the concept of business and characteristics of business. So today we'll be continuing with the topic classification of business, industry and its types, and commerce. So here in this session we'll be covering these topics. So we'll start with the classification of business activities. As in the previous class, we have learned about the concept of business. What is business? Business is an economic activity. It includes all the occupation in which people are busy in earning income to satisfy their needs and by performing the activities such as production or purchases or sale or exchange of goods and services. And here the main motive is to earn profit. Now, if we talk about classification of business activities, so business activities can be classified on various bases. The common basis of classification is on the basis of function. So here is a classification of basis of function. First is industry, second is commerce. So it is clear that business activities include purchases or production or sale or exchange of goods and services, and these activities are categorized into two main categories. First is industry and second is commerce. Now here is the classification chart of business activities. As we know, business activities are classified into two main categories. First is industry, second is commerce. Now industry is also classified into three main categories. First is primary industry, then secondary industry, and then third tertiary industry. So primary industry includes extractive industry and genetic industry. Secondary industry includes manufacturing industry and constructive industry. And tertiary industry, which is also known as service sector, it includes transport, banking, communication, insurance and advertising. Now if we talk about the second category of business activity, which is commerce. So commerce is also classified into two main categories. First is trade and second is aids to trade. Now trade is also classified into two main categories. First is internal and second is external trade. Internal trade includes retail and wholesale, whereas external trade includes export, import and interport. Now aids to trade will include transport, communication, banking and finance, insurance and advertising. So now we'll be learning about these classification in details. So we'll start with the very first category of business activity, that is industry. Now what does industry means? Industry refers to an activity which converts raw material into useful products. So we can say industry includes the activity which is related to production and processing, as well as it includes the activities which is related to rearing and reproduction of animals or other living species. So here we can say the purpose of industry is to create form utility by converting raw material into useful forms of finished product. So basically in industry, the raw material is produced and then it is converted into finished products. Now the term industry, it also refers to a group of firms producing similar or related goods. For example, if we talk about textile industry, so textile industry refers to all the production units related to cloth manufacturing. Cement industry refers to all the firms of manufacturing cement. Clear? Now industry may also produce consumer goods or capital goods. So goods such as bread, butter, cloth, radios, etc. These are consumer goods. So these goods are directly used by the consumer. If we talk about capital goods, so goods such as machinery, cement, etc. These all are considered as capital goods, as these are used for further production process. So it is clear, in industry the activities such as production and processing of goods, or we can say where the raw material is converted into useful product, all these activities takes place in industry. Now, if we talk about the classification of industry, so industry is also classified into three broad categories. First is primary industry, second is secondary industry, and third is tertiary industry. So, primary industry includes genetic and extractive industry. Genetic industry includes breeding of birds, pisciculture, dairy farming and nursery, whereas extractive industry include mining, fishing and timber cutting. Now coming to the secondary industry includes manufacturing and constructive industry. So in manufacturing industry, it includes analytical, synthetic, assembly and processing industry, whereas constructive industry includes road construction, dam construction and bridge construction. Now if we talk about tertiary industry, so tertiary industry includes transport, banking, communication, insurance and advertisement. Now let's discuss about the very first category of industry, which is primary industry. Now primary industry includes all those industries which are concerned with extraction of natural resources and reproduction of living species. So here primary industry means in this industry all the raw materials are extracted from natural resources or reproduction of living species. Now primary industry is further classified into two categories. First is extractive, second is genetic. Now if we talk about extractive industry, so these are the industry which involve extraction of something from natural resources such as minerals from earth, fish from rivers, seas, timber from forest, etc. So here the minerals are, or the resources or the raw materials are collected from natural resources, and the product of extractive industry can be directly used or it can become as raw material for other industry. Now if we talk about the second category, which is genetic industry, so these are the industries involved in the activity of rearing and breeding of living organisms, that is birds, plants, animals, etc., and it is known as genetic industry. For example, rearing of cattle for milk, dairy farms, poultry farms, rearing of plants in nursery, growing fish in ponds, etc. These are some examples of genetic industry. All these activities are performed in genetic industry. Now here is the second main category of industry, which is secondary industry. So secondary industry makes use of products which are extracted and produced by primary industry as their raw materials, and then they produce finished products. So for example, mining of iron ore is done in primary industry, but steel manufacturing is done in secondary industry. So here secondary industry is also divided into two categories. First is manufacturing industries and second is construction industry. Now if we talk about manufacturing industry, so these industries are engaged in the process of conversion of raw materials or semi-finished goods into finished goods. So in manufacturing industry, activities such as conversion of raw material into finished goods is performed. So these industries create form utility by changing the form of raw materials into finished products. For example, timber is converted into furniture, iron is converted into steel, sugarcane is converted into sugar, and cotton is converted into
clothes. So these are the example of manufacturing industries where raw material is converted into finished goods. Now if we talk about construction industry, so these industries are concerned with construction of buildings or roads or dams. So construction industry is totally concerned with the construction of building, dams and roads. Now, manufacturing industries basically produces two types of goods. As we have already learned that the industries produce two types of goods. First is consumer goods. Now, consumer goods are the goods which can be directly consumed by the consumer. It is known as consumer goods, and these goods are used for day-to-day consumption. Example of consumer goods can be cloth, oil, soap, bread, etc. Now, second type of good produced by the manufacturing industry is industrial goods. So, industrial goods are the goods which are produced for manufacturing. Customer goods are known as industrial goods like machinery, equipment, tools, etc. All these are required to manufacture the consumer goods. Example can be machinery, equipment, tools, etc. So here, as we know, consumer goods are the goods which are directly used by the consumer, and industrial goods are the goods which are produced for manufacturing consumer goods. Now, if we talk about the types of manufacturing industries, so there are four types of manufacturing industry. First is analytical industry. The analytical industry is the industry where the basic raw material is broken into different parts to produce finished products. So here the raw material is broken into small parts so that a finished product can be produced. For example, crude oil is processed and many finished products such as petroleum, diesel, kerosene oil, gasoline, etc. are manufactured. Second type of manufacturing industry is synthetic industry. Now, in synthetic industry, two or more materials are mixed to manufacture some new product. So here, to produce a new product, two or more materials are mixed. For example, chemicals are mixed to produce soap, paints, cosmetics, etc. Third type of manufacturing industry is processing industry. So in processing industry, the raw material is processed through various stages of production and then finished goods are manufactured. For example, textile industry, iron and steel industry, sugar industry, etc. So basically in processing industry, raw material is processed through various stages of production. There are various stages in the production of goods where raw material is converted into finished goods, and it is done in processing industry. Last type of manufacturing industry is assembly industry. So in assembly industry, the various finished products are combined to produce a new finished product. So here, to produce a new finished product, various finished products are combined. For example, manufacturing of computers, television, watches, automobile, cars, etc. So here, to produce computer, the different parts of computers are first converted into finished goods such as keyboard, mouse, etc. Now after completing these finished goods, all these finished goods are combined. That is, mouse is connected with computer, then keyboard is connected with computer, and after this the system works. So these were some types of manufacturing industries. Now the third main category of industry is tertiary, or we can call it as service industry. So this industry is basically concerned with providing services which facilitate a smooth flow of goods and services. So we can say here that this industry helps in the activities of primary and secondary industry, or in other words, this industry provides services which support the activity of primary and secondary industry. That is why it is known as service industry. So basically, service industry supports the activity of both the primary and secondary industry. Now there are various types of services provided in tertiary industries. These are, first is transport. So transport basically mean it facilitates the movement of goods from one place to another. As we know, production of goods takes place at one place, whereas these are demanded in different parts of the country. So this obstacle of place is removed by the service transport. So here we can say transport facilitates the movement of goods from one place to another. Example, we can take it here as if the tea is produced in Assam and Darjeeling, but it is consumed in all the parts of the country. So this is made possible only because of transport. Next is banking. Now banking provides the credit facility to industries and trading firms. Here the producer always needs some credit. So here he can go to the bank and bank can provide some credit so that he can carry on the business activity easily by the financial help provided by the banks. Third is insurance. Insurance provides coverage from various types of risk. As we know, businessmen have to bear various types of risk. So insurance provides some protection from these kinds of risk. Such risk can be of loss due to fire, theft, accident, etc. So insurance company provides protection to the employees also against the risk of accident while working. Next is warehousing. Warehousing provides storage place for goods produced by primary and secondary industry. As we know, there is always a time gap between the production and consumption of goods. So goods are not consumed immediately when these are produced. For example, if we talk about rice, wheat, etc., these are produced in a particular season, but these are consumed throughout the year. So these are to be stored. Some special arrangement has to be made to store the goods to prevent the loss and to keep them fresh. So warehousing helps in the storage of goods. Last is advertising. So here advertising means providing information to the consumer or customer. Now practically it is impossible for a manufacturer and the trader to contact each and every customer. So basically advertisement helps to overcome this problem. Now here is the second main category of business activity, which is commerce. Now what does the term commerce means? So commerce refers to all those activities which help directly or indirectly in the distribution of goods to the ultimate consumer. There will be no use of producing goods unless and until these goods reach to the ultimate consumer. So goods are produced at one place and customers are scattered at different place. So here the consumers are not aware of what kind of goods are produced by the manufacturer. So goods are produced in a large quantity and they are demanded by the consumer in small quantity. All these problems, that is hindrances of place, hindrances of knowledge, hindrances of storage, etc., all these problems are solved by commerce. So in this session we have learned the broad categories of business activities, which was industry and commerce. We have learned about the details of classification of industries and we have also discussed about commerce. Commerce classification we'll be discussing in the next session. That's all for today. Thank you.